All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Welcome back to the Friday Night Live podcast. We are with Kenny and Jamey Simpson, head coach at Searcy High School in Arkansas, and we are thrilled to have you guys on. Thank you for coming on, guys. Welcome.
Oh, we're glad to be here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, right out of the gate, Coach, I want to hit this announcement. Just saw this on Twitter. One of your sports guys down there tweeted out that the governor of Arkansas went ahead and cleared you guys for full contact drills. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's was pretty exciting news for all the guys in Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
I bet.
How long have you guys been just drilling, conditioning, small group deal? How long have you guys been going that route?
Well, they opened soft back in June, and then, of course, I took the job at Searcy right at the end of June, early July, and so we were able to do smaller groups and then bring in a little larger groups, but, couldn't touch each other, no pads. And I think last week we finally got the go-ahead to put on a helmet. And next week, of course, now it's go get them time. So we're pretty excited. And then I've got a scrimmage game coming up in about roughly 11 days.
Oh, my goodness. So we're playing football in Arkansas.
Time to go. That's right.
Very
exciting.
Very excited. Very excited. I wanted to get that for sure. That's always neat. Anytime we hear from coaches across the country that are actually playing ball, man, I get jealous. I'm just like, yeah, that's great. We're excited for you guys. So congrats on that. Congrats having a governor who is fired up for football and wants to get you guys going.
That's
let you do your thing. Yeah.
Very blessed. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're just going to have you guys introduce your family. Just take it away. Introduce us to your children and what they're up to these days and where you're at with the Simpson household.
I'll do Jamey and me, and I'll let her talk about our kids. Cause
Perfect.
I'm Coach Kenny Simpson, and I think you alluded to it. I just took the job at Searcy High School. They had a great year last year, won the state championship, and so obviously big shoes to fill there, and excited about that opportunity. Was at Southside for 9 years, married to my wife, Jamey. We actually got to work together for about 3 or 4 years at Southside. Now she'll get to go back to doing what she wanted to do in graphic design and, far, in my opinion, the best in the business in that world. But she also has a lot of hats. I'm sure we'll get into those as we go through this tonight. But
yes, sir.
A lot of things for our family. And by far, the better looking and the most important part of our family is our kids.
Oh my goodness. Such a butter up. Well, we have 3 kiddos, and our oldest is she's 15 now.
15.
She's 15, and she's doing volleyball and basketball and track, and taller than me. Just really, it's kind of fun, because I coached volleyball for a while too, and it's just fun to see your kids be athletic. You kind of always hope for that, but when they come out that way, it's fun. And then we have a 12-year-old boy, and he's into football. He's very good too, and he also does basketball and track and really anything, baseball, anything with the sport. And then our 8-year-old, he just turned 8. And he's probably the one that's not going to do sports, and we're going to have to figure that out as we go, because I don't know what that looks like. But he messes around with soccer and stuff like that. But he's kind of musical, and he always has some sort of accent or dress up happening. So very creative, very artsy. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, keeps us on our toes for sure.
He does.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Your 12-year-old coach, is he tied to your hip? Is he your ball boy? Is he a manager? Is he with you all the time? And
since he was little, he was always on the field, and she mentioned it, you hope that you'll get a chance to coach your son. And so he's gone through Pee Wee, and now he's entering the 7th grade. And so we thought this was probably good timing. If we're going to make a school switch, this was probably the time to do it. And so he is getting an eye-opening experience of going from 4A to 6A, where, big fish, small pond, and now big fish, big pond.
Yes, sir.
We're excited about that. But, he's funny. He takes a lot after his mother, and so he and I get along really, really well. And my little girl takes it after me, so she and I not so much all the time, and usually mom and her each other well, and then the littlest one is a mixture, and so we both have to trade him off to handle it.
That's great.
No, Jamey, did you come from a football family? I'm always curious of our coaches' wives, being that you're married to a coach, did you ever dream that you'd be a coach's wife?
I didn't really. I grew up and I was kind of the athletic one. I have a brother, but I was the athletic one in the family. So my dad and we would go on dates on Fridays and go watch football games. And my dad coached basketball for a little bit, but sports have just been a big part of my life. I didn't, and once before I talked about this, and I don't really think that I went into a marriage knowing or thinking I want my husband in this box and I want him to do this. And I just really wanted him to be happy. Mm-hmm. He's definitely happy with what he gets to do. And it makes for a happier home. And when your husband's getting to do what he loves and what he's made to do, he's clearly gifted. So, I guess I never really thought that I would be a coach's wife, but it's been fine. We've learned along the way and grown a lot, stretched a lot. And, I feel like we've both gotten better along the way too. So.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah, it shows just how successful both of you are with your careers and writing books and keynote speaker, and you, Jamey, a graphic designer, and you design for teams, right? Graphics for teams.
I do.
Do you do just all across the board sports, or do you do football as well, just solely football?
Well, I do across the sports.
Okay.
I kind of started out with just Kenny's team, and when I graduated from college, I had a graphic design minor and a major in advertising. So I worked in advertising for a while, but I kept realizing that I would always be drawn to the print media stuff. So publications and newspaper ads and anything layout design I loved, and I was drawn to it. And I think it was about when he got his head job, he would say, "Jane, do you think you could do a media guide?" And I was like, "Sure, let's try it." And so learned along the way a little bit more, and so did all of his graphics. Anything he wanted or needed, I would do his graphics. And then at Southside was when the other teams kind of started asking me on. And so I've done volleyball, softball, basketball, memory books, posters, stuff like that. And then when he took this job, I always kind of did it freelance as needed. And when he took Searcy job, I started trying to evaluate, okay, now what am I going to do? Because, wanted to be a little more flexible for our kids since this year's a little bit unknown. And so I thought, well, let's try this full time. Let's see what's going to happen here. And during quarantine, a lot of projects opened up through Kenny. His presence, I think, helped. So I've gotten a lot of football stuff, but also I've done lacrosse, got some lacrosse jobs.
Oh.
And,
great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just going to be open to doing anything needed, lots of schedules and revamping schedules.
I've seen those. Those are some great graphics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Taking a look on your website. Yeah, those look great.
And
well,
even,
thank you.
And Kenny, we'll get to your book, but you, Jamey, you did the cover of his book.
Yes,
right?
I do his covers, and I do
yeah, it's great.
anything he needs, I do. So.
Yeah, pretty much I'm just loud and vocal, and she makes me look good with all of it.
Hey, it's a team effort.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No, that's great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so Kenny, a little bit of your football journey. I mean, right now you just got hired at Searcy, but take us through kind of how you got into football, either playing days, some inspiration. Who was kind of the motivator for you to continue to be in the sport?
Yeah, I was a multi-sport kid growing up and in a military family. And so we moved, I think I went to 3 different high schools my junior and senior year. So just inside 2 years, I was at different schools. And so we moved pretty constant. But the one thing that was always constant for me was I was drawn to athletics. And, had a lot of different experiences with different coaches, some good, some not as good. But I had a guy in Arkansas, actually, which is one of the reasons I wanted to kind of come back this direction. At Greenwood, I played for a guy named Ronnie Peacock, who's a pretty well-known coach in this area, great Christian man, just a great person. And I remembered, of all the coaches I remember in my lifetime, I could remember him. And I had a great basketball coach named Joey Adams, who's down in Mobile, Alabama now, but I had him in Florida. And those guys were guys that I kind of latched on to because, my my senior year, my parents were young when they had me, were moving, so they were trying to keep me stable, which meant that usually meant I had to live with friends because they were trying to get their situation set up. So I leaned a lot on coaches to kind of be a guiding force. And so I knew that was something I was drawn to, was going to be business when we met. So I was going to make a lot of money. And we just got to the point where I knew that I was going to do that and then coach on the side, or I was drawn to, so why don't I just do this as a job? And so instead of feeling like I go to work, I feel like I go do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I got into it. Started out at Madison Academy in Huntsville. We were both really then, and I think, did you do volleyball then? So we did volleyball. I did basketball and football. So I've got a little basketball background. Little side note, I'm like 53-8 as a basketball coach because I coached some guys that played professionally in Europe, and I could roll a ball out there, and they were pretty good.
Hey.
So, anyway, did that for a couple of years. Yeah. Then moved to Montgomery. Coaching world, you move up, so you got to move usually to do that. Moved to Montgomery. Defensive coordinator for 2 years, and the head coach took a college job. And so I think probably to save money, they said, "You're 27, you're ready, here you go." And I was not ready, but I learned as I went. So I spent about 3 years there, and then decided we wanted to come back to the Arkansas area to raise our family. We really think this is a good place to have your kids. And so we came back to Southside and spent 9 years. Just recently, we're still in our house. We haven't moved yet to Searcy. We're still actually living in the house in Southside.
Yes.
A great school. They treated us awesome. And I'll be forever grateful for my time there and the opportunities they gave us. Mm-hmm. She comes open, and we go to church in that area. That's where Harding University is, where we graduated. And so just kind of feel like, okay, here's a door. Our daughter's going into high school first year. Our son's going to junior high first year. Just seemed like the timing was probably right.
Yeah.
Went ahead and took that step. And so now I'm really excited about Searcy. The kids are awesome. The administration is great. The community is great. We've got a lot of friends, old friends there. So
wonderful.
Finally, hopefully get down there and play ball.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Outstanding. And so coming full circle then, you guys met in college, is that right? You guys met in college. All right. And I just want to hear about kind of that little story and how that whole relationship came
to be. It's like a two-sided story.
It is a bit of a two-sided story here.
I love it.
Actually had a class together our freshman year. And so we knew each other. It was kind of a smaller class because it was a speech class. And so we had seen each other, not really talked at all. But I was at a football game one night on a date with somebody else. And Kenny walks up. It's true. It's a true story.
It's true.
Kenny walks up with all of his friends, which we were kind of mutual friends with those friends. And so they kind of sat close to us. And as the night went on, those friends left. And so Kenny just scooted over and joined my date. And talked. And I thought, who is this guy? Golly. And so anyway, he was very enjoyable. He was way more fun than the guy that I was on the date with. And so by the end of the night, he asked for my number. And I said, there's no way you're going to remember my number. And he was like, try me. And so I told him. He never wrote it down, finished my date, went back to my dorm, and he had called. And
Impressive.
Before you got back to the dorm, he'd already made a phone call.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to forget the number.
You had it. She was dialed in, huh? You knew what you were doing.
That is
well, you go to those games, you start, which girls like football? No, we had known each other.
That's what did.
Yes. Well, it was a good experience for both of us. And we got married young. And when you do that, you go through some rough patches as you're learning each other. But man, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Did you guys get married in college?
We did. We were 21.
Our senior year, yeah. Well, my senior year. Since he switched majors, it took him an extra year, but yeah.
Okay.
But it's kind of fun to grow up together,
It is. What's scary is our daughter's 15. I was like, okay, so 3 more years, and she's the age we were when we met. And
wow.
I kind of realized how young you were,
Yes. And how much older they're getting, too.
Yeah.
You're thinking, oh, my gosh, 3 more years and married each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So you guys married finished college, right into post grad or anything. You were going into business, Kenny. You said, right? You were going to kind of be the business guy, and so when did after that kind of that post grad degree, when did you decide there was going to be coaching?
I think my junior year. Isn't that right? We were at the point where I knew we were pretty serious. You know, we'd kind of, you know, we dated as freshmen, and I thought it went really well. And then sophomore year, you kind of go, okay, we're about at the point where we're going to make a move forward here. And that summer, I'd been interning at a church. Last couple of summers, I'd go back and be around youth, just kind of be around people and kids. I knew, okay, I want to be a minister, you know, but I do want to be around young people. I feel like I'm pretty good at that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know at that point if I was going to do football or basketball. I knew I wanted to coach. Okay. I didn't know what it was going to be. So we talked, because her parents were in education, so they know that that's not always an easy life. Yeah. I said, we had talked before. I'd come to her my freshman year and said I was going to be in the military to pay for my college. And she said it was fine, but I needed to find another girl to date if that's what I wanted to do. So well, I prefer you over boot camp. So I had the same conversation with her on this one, and she said, no, I'm okay with being with an educator and a coach. And
that makes me sound anti-military. I'm not.
No.
I knew that I was not cut out to be a military wife, which is kind of interesting, though, because a lot of it is sort of the same.
Yes.
Yes. You know, home a lot by yourself. But I don't know. I guess I don't know what. I'm not anti-military. I don't want that to sound.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I think that, you know, we as coaches' wives, we're kind of, you know, there's that coach's wife stigma, you know, right? Or I don't know if it would be stigma or just that, you know, kind of label, I guess you would say, that just, you know, we know that we're kind of, you know, we're by ourselves and we have to do a lot, and we have to really make sure we're strong enough to take care of the home front while the guys are on the field. And I think that military wives, boy, you know, they are.
It's almost the same thing. Yeah. You have to be independent.
They have a special place in heaven, because I think that, you know, they don't know if their husbands are coming home. And so, you know, it's a blessing to know that there's wives out there strong and they're taking care of their families. So yeah, I understand. I completely understand that. You're coming from on that.
Yeah. Awesome. Kenny, let's talk about your books. You're a published author now, 3 books in. Is that correct?
3 books in, which is, I planned on writing none. And if you'd seen me write in college, you probably would agree that was a good idea. So I started the first book, which is actually, it's been amazing, the reception. It's been out not quite a year. I put it out in November. And I'm at like 1,800 copies sold, which is about 1,700 more than I thought I would sell.
That's fantastic.
Wonderful. Congrats.
I appreciate it. Well, I just wrote it. I started writing it when I was young, and I knew a lot, you know, and so one of the book back then was, here's how you should be a head coach. And then I went through some rough patches and learned real quickly that, you know, God humbles us sometimes, and some changed to, man, I really wish I had done these things kind of differently, you know, and here's some things you might want to know if you're going into this job. And if you read anything I write, you know, I'm pretty direct and I don't kind of dance around. Just here's what I think and here's what it is. And if you don't agree, but here's kind of the idea behind it. So I wrote that one. That one went really well. That took me probably about 4 or 5 years, because I put it down and picked it back up and put it down. Jamey's mom was an English teacher, and she was my editor. So that's the thing, really cool. And then my mom's kind of a marketing type lady, so she helped me come up with ideas for that. And of course, Jamey handled pretty much anything that was graphic on it, or helping clean up some things and moving chapters around. And so, second book was basically a football book. You know, a lot of guys kept asking me about my offense. Can you put something together? So that pretty much to me was more like a playbook, but she made it look cool with all the different things on it. So it looks a little more, to me, that's more just a playbook, you know. And then the third book I did, there was a quarantine project pretty much. I just wrote down stories about former athletes, former coaches. That I just wanted to share their story, you know, and talk to coaches about, hey, why are we really in this? When quarantine, you got a lot of time to think pretty deeply.
Yeah.
And what was cool is Jamey had coached some of those athletes as well. So getting to reconnect with them was cool, and share their story was pretty neat. The goal of that whole book was to talk to coaches about, hey, what are you doing beyond the game? What are you doing outside of just the sport? So those were 3, and then Jamey's got her Noopadoop book in the middle of quarantine. So we basically we didn't go in this planning to be authors. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Jamey, can you touch on your book really quick, just a little bit? 'Cause it's a children's book, right?
Yes, it is a children's book. It's called Have You Ever Seen a Noopadoop? And it is kind of one of those, I think it spurred from when I put my kids to bed at night, and if we weren't reading a book, we would kind of come up with our own stories of, well, do you think this? And then the next person would have to tell the next line and the next line. So it's just kind of a creative, use your imagination. And in the end, it never really tells you what a Noopadoop looks like. You just have to figure it out. And then lots of kids have actually drawn pictures of what they think a Noopadoop looks like, and they've shared them with me, and one even mailed them to me.
If you find a hashtag, it's on there.
If you find hashtag Noopadoops, you get to see a whole bunch of them. Some even made them out of paper, those pipe cleaners or Play-Doh.
Oh, that's great.
It's just a way to inspire kids. I think my graphic design part wanted me to somehow spur on, that kind of thing for children. Plus, it was just something that I wanted to see if I could do it. And
There you go.
Well, you sure did.
And that was also kind of in the quarantine, as a quarantine project for you.
Yeah, we were pretty bored during quarantine. And we neither one of us sit still. So we basically had, kids cook dinner night, movie night, and then during the day it was like, apparently I just shot YouTube videos and wrote books.
That's great. That's great. And you did the YouTube videos, Coach, in your house, or was that at school?
Yeah, my basement right downstairs. I put some whiteboards up and just started shooting them. And I put a bunch on CoachTube too, but try to do like the shorter ones on YouTube so Coach would get on there. And it was pretty neat. The power of social media is it can be a really good, and of course it can be a bad thing too.
Yes,
but
sir.
the connective, like what we're doing right now, just the ability to connect. That's the good part of social media, and we try to use ours in that direction and try not to talk about other things that we go in a different direction.
That's right.
And have you got a lot of positive feedback from the YouTube videos? A lot of coaches coming on. Are you able to interact with them, or is that just you shoot the video and then are they able? I guess we're able to go live and read the comments and go, or do you shoot it?
I can,
Okay.
and then I've done. I've got my own website now, so they can go on there and kind of access things. And then I started my own email, and it was never planned. A lot of people say, "Man, what did you do business wise?" And I said, "I just kind of just got lucky. I don't know what happened. It just kind of happened."
it's all those business classes he took.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, a lot of it is you get a lot of coaches, I think, that appreciate people that are genuine. I know that's what I want to listen to, is guys that admit, hey, this didn't work, but here's what we tried to do. And so I come across that way of, I've won games and I've lost games, and, here's what it is. If you like it, and if you don't, then blame somebody else. Because it's been a pretty neat deal. But a lot of my favorite part is getting to connect, like what we're doing now, and Jamey can attest, I'll get probably during the height of quarantine, I was getting about 80 to 100 emails, DMs, or whatever from coaches across the country every day. So it's pretty neat.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And so going back to the books, the training athletes beyond the game, just a little bit about, you had some stories, you said, like some stories from some former athletes. And was that more kind of how you train them, or what you learned in the training of those athletes? Kind of give a little bit of what the theme of that is.
Yeah, I tried to go, like most coaches, you kind of, outline form. So basically training the character of an athlete. And here's the different things that we tried to do. Some we did well, and some we didn't do well. So try to share those stories of the kids, and then try to train the heart of an athlete. Here's the different ways you can try to train the heart of an athlete. And then I think there was some character, heart. There's one more. There are 3 of them. Of course, I'm going to blank on it now that we're live here. But there are 3 different basic parts we're trying to train on this athlete. And then the last chapter, every book I write, I'm going to write mistakes I've made. I think that young coaches need to hear coaches admit, hey, this is an area where I really wish I could have gone back. And that was a hard one to write because that was a young man that passed away, and I don't know if I could have done anything to help with that, but I didn't. And so that was a tough one to write, but I talked to his parents. If we can use a story to maybe help another coach or help a kid, then we're going to do that. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I think that resource alone right there, Coach, will speak volumes to coaches of all ages, especially like the younger ones, like you said, up and coming. But any coach who's even struggled and gone through that or dealt with a tough kid, going through a traumatic experience like a loss of life, and how do you deal with that?
Right.
That was a hard deal. I had to go through that last year too. I lost my O-line coach right before the season. He had a massive heart attack. He was a great man. He was loved by all, community guy, and we had to deal with that. Like scrimmage week, it was right there, and it was just a tragic thing. And having to navigate through that, having to navigate through that, and it was just one of those lessons, one of those things never gone through before. It was like you said earlier, it was like you just dive right in, and that was something we just had to pick up and go. And that was a hard week, leading right into our first game and stuff like that. But I would love to read that chapter sometime and what you did. And so I think a lot of coaches, pearls of wisdom all over that. And I appreciate your heart of writing some of those mistakes too. I think we get caught up in wanting to talk about the victories and all the successes and how that looks. But when a coach is open enough and honest enough to say this is what didn't work and learn from that, man, that is tremendous. So thank you for doing that, Coach. I hope a lot of coaches that have read your books or going to read your books will see that too. So appreciate that. So Jamey, as Coach's wife and not just a football coach, but obviously the endeavors that we're talking about here and all those different avenues and things that you guys are involved in. What are some things that you think that you've done to support Kenny in the football and obviously in the books, because you help him with the graphics, and that's wonderful. But just what is one of the ways that you most support your husband in his journey?
Well, I like to call Kenny my mountain climber because he's always looking for a new goal to set and to achieve it, and he generally does that, and or a new quest, new adventure. And so in the beginning, early on, he would tell me something that he was going to do or that he wanted to do, and I would just kind of roll my eyes and think like, right, that's going to happen. And then as he proved time after time that it did happen, I decided to just roll up my sleeves and join in and help him. And so it really, I think, depends on whatever he's doing, however I help him in that. Sometimes it's with graphics, or sometimes it's with just being a sounding board, or helping organize something, or with this football team, feeding them or taking pictures on Fridays, or, I think it just looks different. Physically it looks different. Emotionally, I'm not sure that I'm the best encourager in the world. That's not natural for me. My mom is the best encourager I've ever met. That's not easy for me. It doesn't come naturally. So I think I tend to be too practical. And when he starts in on these ideas, I'm like, well, have you looked at this? Or what if that? And I play devil's advocate. But I don't think he takes that as I'm not supporting him. That's just me saying, well, we've got to see this and cut it off before it happens, or, and then, but ultimately, I hope he knows that I'm on board no matter what, and I'm going to back him no matter what. I think we just kind of one of those relationships where he knows that I'm going to support him, and even though it might not look that way all the time, it might not feel that way, I think in the long run, he knows I've got his back. He can come home and gripe to me, and I understand that he doesn't really mean half the stuff he says. He's just saying it because he's got to get it off his chest, and vice versa. He does that for me too. But I don't know if there's one good answer for that. I think just whatever moment we're in, it probably looks different. So
yeah, I think she provides balance. You're a coach. I'm sure you know that sometimes you got to be brought down. Sometimes you got to lift it up.
Yes,
and she usually can kind of sense I'm getting a little too big for my britches, bring me down a little bit, or the year I went 0-10, I needed to be lifted up. So I think that would be what I view is just that kind of keep me even keel. When I was a young coach, I was, you know, now that I've gotten older, I've leveled out a little more, but balanced.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back to that feeding the players, Jamey.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What is some of those routines? Whether it was either game week or off season, or how do you do that?
Well, early on, it started out just our linemen, the ones that would get pancakes.
Yes.
They'd flatten some guy. If they earned a pancake, then they would get to come to pancake dinner, and I would make pancakes. And then
Great.
I guess word traveled that it was a really good meal, because then I started having to add hash browns, and I had to add eggs, and those are big boys and they like to eat.
Yes.
And I learned every year it does not matter how much more food you make, it's going to be gone. And so then I think the boys we had a really great line, so there were a lot of boys to feed on pancake
The day after the game?
Yeah.
Did you have
It
one
was
of the-
usually on a Thursday night,
Thursday night.
and it was
okay.
we tallied it up throughout the season, and then there was that one big pancake dinner.
Yeah.
But, we would have linemen one week, or that was a pancake, but we would have special, skills kids, receivers, quarterbacks. One night, the pancake dinner, the quarterback snuck in, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And they tried to kick him out because it was like, "This is only us." And he had to show them the stats where he had gotten a pancake.
Oh, that is so funny.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Linemen are pretty territorial.
Absolutely.
They are.
Don't kind of come in on
especially when food's involved. Let's go. We're not having anybody else.
And so,
great.
it was a pretty big team, so we never really could have them all at the same time. So we would try to break it up. Our DC was always good about having the defense over, and so we kind of tried to keep the offense going also. And but really and truly, we just, whenever he'd say, "Hey, let's have the boys over," and I would try to branch out and make soups and sandwiches, or chicken or something different, they'd be like, "No, just pancakes." I can cook more than just pancakes, guys. But
Is there a secret recipe there, Jamey?
No, really, nothing special. Okay. But that cheesy hash brown casserole, they end up loving that, and there's like an egg casserole that I make too. I don't know. They just like food. They're teenage.
Well, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, we love it. We'll do breakfast for dinner often. The kids absolutely love it. So
kids in general,
we're looking to spice it up. If there's anything special or cheesy potatoes or however, we'll copy.
I might be emailing you for those recipes.
Yeah,
That sounds good.
But
They're
that's
really
great
easy.
that you do that. Yeah. You kind of step in and you're part of the kids' lives, and you provide obviously food. I guess that's always, such a blessing to the boys, right? They'll come if you feed them.
They will.
I know that you're moving to a new high school, and I'm sure, whatever you did at this high school, you'll probably do with this new one. But do you connect a lot with the other coaches' wives?
I do. Our group here was amazing. We were all kind of friends. When we moved here, the existing head coach that was here before Kenny, his wife, just took me under her wing. And I thought, she didn't have to do that because she was still here, and that could be awkward. But she was great and just kind of took me under her wing and kind of made me feel comfortable. I'm not one that's just going to put myself out there. I'm a little more shy at the beginning and feel my way out first and see where I'm going to fit, and then kind of step, I don't want people to think, well, who does she think she is? But our group here, as he built his staff, the wives and I got along really, really well, and all different ages. Some of us have middle-aged kids, some of us have full-grown kids, some of us are just starting out or no kids. And so, what we did after game nights, and they had started this tradition before we got here, at home games, we would all get together and just have like a meal, and whether win or loss. And so some nights were way more fun than others, but we get together and just being together, this school is special anyway. It was very family oriented. And so the wives always felt welcome. And I kind of wanted to help generate that. I don't know if I really did that. I think that was just the atmosphere that was here that continued. But this one that we're going to, I'm really excited about. I reached out to all of them, and he got to hire 3 coaches and reached out to them, and there are a couple of them we had friends of friends, and tomorrow night actually we're having a big old dinner
Coaches.
together,
Wonderful.
families, and
Is that
getting
the
them
first
together.
one? Is that the first
Oh,
kickoff dinner with everybody?
First
Yeah.
kickoff dinner, yeah.
Awesome.
So that'll look a little different. We're used to being the ones hosting that, but our house isn't ready there yet, so our family hosts it. But I always try to get them a little something at the beginning of season, if it's a T-shirt or a bracelet or whatever.
Oh, that's a
great
great
idea.
idea for all the coaches' wives. That's a great
Yes.
idea.
Yeah. So
Wonderful.
No,
And when I gave him a bracelet, they thought it was awkward, but when she does,
We got to give them those power bracelets, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
The right bracelet.
now, do
It's
you,
great, Jamie.
as the coaches' wives, as a group, is there anything that you do particular for the team? I know you said you do the pancake dinner, but is there anything that you guys do as a group to kind of just I guess
well, we
connect with things?
anytime that he's like hosting a 7-on-7 or trying to think of some of the other events, we have banquets, mother-son date nights.
Oh, that's a
Great
great
idea.
idea.
End of year banquet. The coaches' wives are kind of in charge of the food, and so we'll either he had a coaching clinic one time, and anytime there's food needed, we all kind of pitch in and make a potluck and make sure it happens and runs smoothly. But like the hospitality rooms at 7-on-7s and that mother-son date night, a lot of the coaches' wives ended up being players' moms as well. But so we're all usually at that, and we're very involved, and a lot of it might be because of sons or husbands, but we're very involved in the team. Some of them can't be because of work and they work out of town, but we try our best to be.
That's awesome, guys.
Well, that's
That's
some
the
great.
dynamics changing. With us getting older, it's made it actually easier, I think, for her and for me to, when you're a head coach at 27 and your assistants are older than you, that's awkward. Now that I'm kind of one of the older guys on staff, and she doesn't look it, but she's one of the older ladies on staff. It's easier to mentor the younger ones,
Yeah. No, it's great.
Oh no, those are great ideas.
Yeah, so much more than just the X's and O's, Kenny, and you and Jamie have personified that. And that, I think it's all about those relationships, and we get into the game because we love it, but what comes out of that sport and what comes out of our sport is just so much more. And the relationships that you guys established, those are pearls of wisdom. And I appreciate that. And Jamie, thank you for sharing all those great ideas for all of our coaches' wives as well. And those are some of the things that we've just been very excited to hear your heart, how you support your husband, but also what you kind of do on the side for the team as well. And that's great. Love that. So Kenny, I'm gonna flip it over now. I'm gonna ask you the same question. With your wife being a graphic designer and now a published author, what were some of the things that you did to kind of help her and support her and lift her up, even amidst the busy? I know quarantine, we were kind of slowed down a little bit, but what are some of the things you do during the season, even when it is busy, to kind of uplift your wife and keep her going?
Well, there's a couple of things that we've tried to be intentional on. We try to do a date night, even during the season, if we buy a week or we have something going on where we take time to go do something. This summer with COVID was different, but we usually try to do just a her and me getaway, whether that's a week or a weekend or whatever it is. So I do try to make sure we budget time for just us to be together. I really, want to make sure that we understand that this is the most important thing to me, and then my children, and then everything else. But I hope that during the year, most of the time, I think Jamie has a lot of talents and very gifted, and sometimes doesn't believe in herself as much as I believe in herself. And so I think that's one area where I've helped her a lot. Maybe I have enough confidence for both of us. I don't know which one to try to push her to do things and let her know, you're pretty. Don't underestimate, some of the things you're doing and put it out there. And, I think that's how we balance each other. I think that she understands I've got plenty of confidence. So for me, it's kind of talking me through and bringing me down. And for me, it's kind of pushing her up and letting her get out there. And I hope that's what I've provided. She's nodding her head. So I guess that's good.
That's good.
Yeah. And this is just something small that I know it was his question, but he's very good about communicating. He'll put me on the email list to all the parents or the coaches, just letting me know this is happening this week, just FYI, in case he forgets when he gets home to tell me. At least I have an email with it on there. And to me, that's important, and just the day-to-day stuff, just communicating and respecting that. I mean, and I understand, you know, you're never going to be home right exactly when you think you are, but he lets me know a general idea, and he's very, what's the word?
Good looking.
Respectful, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, he respects me. Yeah.
Well, she's learned too that like coaches 5 minutes and wives 5 minutes before a date is the same. Like not really 5 minutes, you know, about 5 to an hour, you know, something.
It's great.
Oh.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, definitely the key. Communication, the key in any good relationship. So I appreciate that. That's all good. So as we kind of, you know, come into a close here, we just want to make sure that our listeners can find you guys. And so I know, Coach, you have your website, but just give us a little bit of where we can find you. Your website, your YouTubes, your social media. Same thing with you, Jamey, for your business. Where can coaches and teams find you and order up some good graphics for their team? So go ahead, take it away.
You want to go first or second? I'll go first, let her go second. Then I've got everything I've tried to brand is just FB Coach Simpson. So you've got that. That's my Twitter handle. That's my bcoachsimpson@gmail.com. fbcoachsimpson.com is my website. So I try to make it pretty clean and simple. Then I try to stay pretty active in the Facebook groups. Obviously, got great news. We're going to have a season. So my social media activity will probably drop a little bit here for the next few months, but it is in a community that I've really enjoyed being around. And so I love the season, but I also kind of enjoy the off seasons when that kicks back, I'll get back around. And I've told a lot of coaches, email me or you know, DM me on Twitter. And if I don't get back to you quickly, I will try my best to eventually get back with you. And Jamey is several places.
Yes, on Twitter, I'm Simp Designs. And then I have a website, JameySimpsonDesigns.weebly.com. And Jamey is spelled Jamey, kind of different. Also on Facebook, that's more of a personal page than graphics and stuff. But so that's where I am.
That's about it. And she's,
Awesome.
I think she's going to hit her cap pretty quick on teams that want to get her. So if there's somebody out there that wants to use it for graphics, because I'm going to be stealing her, making her do all the Searcy stuff here pretty soon.
Well, and go get, and for all of our coaches' wives looking for that book, go get that book. Have you ever seen a Noopadoop? And make sure you order that and get that in your library. And yeah, Coach, all three of your books. What we'll do is we'll do a nice little link for you on our Twitter pages and Instagram and websites, and we'll promote both of you in your businesses and your endeavors, and awesome. And we just look forward to watching you guys grow, continue to grow, however that looks for you, whether it's authors, whether it's cookbooks. Jamey, I don't know, you know, however.
There we go.
I don't know about
I'm
that.
going to contact you for those recipes.
Yes.
So you know.
Absolutely.
Yes. And we're always loving that deep South, that good home cooking from the South. So we love that.
I'm going to throw a wrench in here because I know you're trying to close it up, and I'm sorry if you guys need to go, but I just need to edit this part of the podcast. But I just want to ask really quick, how do you two manage your time in and out of season? Because you're juggling. I'm pretty, I think you guys are pretty cool, a cool couple. You guys have accomplished a lot with your book writing, and then you just coming out with the children's book. You've got 3 children. I think listeners want to know, and you're a head football coach. You work too. How do you manage your time? And if there's just a quick little tips of how you guys maybe, you know, how do you, your family dynamic, how do you guys work that together, I guess? Because that's a lot.
Yes.
That's a good question. Yes. I would say, you know, Jamey didn't know I had a calendar till about a we've got a calendar, but she is probably the queen that makes the family work. So I will say that, like, as far as, I have no idea when our kids, I get up that morning, she says, our kids got a basketball game. You know what? We try to make sure that, one, we put time for us together. 2, we put time for our kids. I will not miss my kids' activities, and I don't want my coaches around my staff to miss their kids' activities. So those are going to take priority. And I found during quarantine, when I stopped watching TV and I don't play golf and I don't hunt, that I've got free time on my hands to do some things. So one of the things I've done in season is I try to make sure my coaching staff, they get off Saturday to be with their family as long as they do what's required. And we meet just pretty minimally on Sundays to go through. Now, if we need to meet more, I set that at very convenient times for the wives, like 5 a.m. for our coaches, so that they can be off in time to go spend time with their family. Because
I like that.
Wonderful
opportunity if they want that. And so I know on my end, that's what I try to do, but she's really the one back in the back, just keep all the balls in the air with all the schedules, because it's tough during the fall with volleyball, football, and everything else going on.
Yes, and honestly, I was the media specialist where we are coming from. Where we're going, I'm just going to get to do full-time graphics. So that's going to help a lot. When the kids were smaller, it was harder. But I think they've gotten older. Y'all can attest to this. They're a lot more self-sufficient. And so they can make themselves lunch. I get going on something and I don't have to stop and make them lunch and make sure they're eating and make sure they have nap time. So the kids getting older has helped a lot. We all kind of chip in with housework on Sundays. That's kind of not during the season.
Not during the season.
But Sundays are just, you come in and everybody has their job. They get it done. The quicker you get it done in the right way, then you get to go do your free time stuff. But I don't know what else.
Our kids grew up to field house in the gym. They just kind of knew.
Right. Because I was coaching a lot and the kids just came with me and the stands and if I have something I have to do with one of them, luckily I can drop. I don't know, with COVID it might be different, but you can drop one with him and just communicate. Seriously, we have to communicate in order for it to all but I don't know that there's a trick or.
And I give one tip for writers. I've got like 8 different books going right now, and so when I just pick that one and start boom. And so that way I don't get writer's block because I got ADD, so I'll just work on the other one. Or I'll work on I'm in the season now, so probably not a lot of that happening. But I've probably got about 8 works that are halfway finished or not even that far. And I think
wonderful.
I have another children's
Jamie's
book.
got one too. So.
It's at an illustrator.
Oh, great.
Yeah, this one's got a different look that I can't quite get. So it's at an illustrator right now. But I think he's right. Like TV is good, but sitting watching 5 shows in a row, that's probably not being productive. No. And we always preach to our kids, get off the phone, get off the electronics. And so I kind of am looking back at myself going, get off the phone, get off the electronics. You really can be more productive that way. So in planning ahead, dinners, you just plan ahead.
Wonderful.
That's a good one. Yeah.
It's great, guys. So stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned. There's more to come from the Simpsons.
Maybe.
So.
Oh, maybe. Or they'll just stay half finished forever.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. We're going to wrap up our time. We can't thank you enough for your time and coming on and sharing your hearts and your journey. And man, this is great for all coaches and wives. There's going to be so many things that we're going to glean from this. But yeah, to all of our listeners, go find them. The links will be in the description. They'll be in the bios. So look up Kenny and Jamey Simpson. And guys, thanks again for everything that you shared and just being a part of our show tonight.
Well,
thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.